Hello viewers, you're welcome to this lecture series on general biology. In today's lecture, we are going to look at the plant kingdom or the kingdom Plantae. The kingdom Plantae basically consists of the plants and it's made up of eukaryotic multicellular autotrophic organisms. They are said to be eukaryotic because they have a membrane-bound nucleus, and they are said to be autotrophic because they are able to carry out photosynthesis to manufacture their own food, and they are multicellular because they have more than one cell. The plants, basically, the cells of the plants have cell walls, and they also possess chloroplasts, which distinguishes them from the animal cells and that of the protozoans. Okay, now the characteristics of the organisms in the kingdom Plantae. Plants. The first characteristic is that plants are non-mortal. The second characteristic is that they make their own food through photosynthesis. So they are autotrophs. They manufacture their own food through photosynthesis. The third, they reproduce asexually by vegetative propagation or sexually. So they reproduce both sexually and asexually. The fourth characteristic of plants is that they are multicellular eukaryotes. They are multicellular organisms. They contain more than one cells. And basically, they are distinct, the plant cells are distinct from the animal cells based on the possession of a large contractile vacuole in the cell wall. The fifth characteristic of the plants is that plants contain photosynthetic pigments called chlorophyll present in the plastids. They have photosynthetic pigments that are present in the plastids. Okay, then the plastids basically the chloroplast. Now, the plants are also known to possess different organelles for anchorage, reproduction, support, and for photosynthesis. Classification of organisms in the plant kingdom. Now, let's classify the organisms in the plant kingdom into their various divisions, classes, and others. A plant is basically classified based on the following criteria. We have the criteria for classification, and the criteria for classification include the plant body, the vascular system, and seed formation. Now, based on the plant body, the presence or absence of a well-differentiated plant body is used for classification. That's the well-differentiated if a plant has or do not have the well-differentiated root, stem, or leaves, because the plant body is divided into three parts: the root, the stem, and the leaf. Okay. For instance, plants have roots, stems, and leaves, but the fungi do not, like the mushroom, do not have roots. The roots are basically called the hyphae, and we have there's actually no stem and there are no leaves. Then the vascular system, the presence or absence of vascular system for the transportation of water and other substances is also a criterion for classification. They are classified into vascular plants and non-vascular plants. Okay, then we have the vascular tissues include the phloem and the xylem. Then the third criteria for classification is seed formation. Okay, the presence or absence of flowers and seeds are used for classification, and whether the seeds are naked or enclosed in the fruit. For instance, those that do not have seeds are referred to as seedless plants. Okay, then we have those that have naked seeds. They are the gymnosperms. Then those that have seeds that are enclosed within the fruit are said to be the angiosperms. Okay. Now, the plant kingdom has been classified into 5 divisions according to the above criteria. And the 5 divisions, that's phyla, of the plant are the division Thallophyta, the division Bryophyta, the division Pteridophyta, the division Gymnospermia, or they are the gymnosperms, and the division Angiospermia. Now let's look at the non-vascular plants, plants that do not have vascular tissues. and they include members of the phylum Bryophyta and Thallophyta. Now, the division Bryophyta. The division Bryophyta are the most diverse groups of plants, consisting of more than 10,000 plant species. Bryophytes do not have vascular tissues. They lack vascular tissues, and they include the mosses, the hornworts, and the liverworts. They do not have vascular tissues, and they include the mosses, the hornworts, and the liverworts. Okay. Then we want to look at the second division, which is the division Thallophyta. Thallophyta includes plants with primitive and simple body structure. They are primitive plants and their bodies are not differentiated into stem, roots, and leaves. The body is a thallus or thallus-like. They may be filamentous, colonial, branched, or unbranched. Examples include the green algae, the red algae, the brown algae, and many others. Common examples include volvox, fucus, uh, spirogyra, chara, and many others. Now, let us look at the division Pteridophyta, which consists of the ferns, generally referred to as the pteridophytes. The division Pteridophyta comprises of vascular cryptogams, that's plants that reproduce by spores or gametes rather than seeds, which basically include the ferns. Now, the pteridophytes have a well-differentiated plant body. Okay, they have well-differentiated plant body and other substances. They are flowerless plants exhibiting an alternation of two distinct dissimilar generations. So the pteridophytes are known to have body parts differentiated into the roots, the stems, and the leaves, which is an advancement from the bryophytes and the thallophytes. And they are known to exhibit alternation of generation. The ferns belong to this division of plants, and some of the common examples include Selagina species and others. The pteridophytes are basically are also very diverse, a diverse group of plants. Now I want to look at the next division, okay, division of vascular plants, and they include the gymnosperms. The gymnosperms, or the organisms in the division spermi, are basically uh, known to be plants that produce naked seeds. They are plants that produce naked seeds. This means that the seeds are produced on the surface of the reproductive structure rather than enclosed within the fruit. Gymnosperms have well-developed plant body parts and have vascular tissues. They are vascular plants. Okay. The gymnosperms comprise of 65 genera and 720 species, and some common examples include the whistling pines and many others. The next division of phylum we want to look at is the phylum Angiospermae. Basically, the angiosperma, and the angiosperms are seed-bearing vascular plants. They are seed-bearing vascular plants with well-differentiated plant body. Okay, their bodies, just like the gymnosperms and the pteridophytes, are divided into the roots, stems, and the leaves, and they produce seeds that are enclosed within the fruit, which differentiates them from the gymnosperms. So the angiosperms are basically fruit-bearing plants. They are also referred to as flowering plants because they reproduce by producing flowers, and the flowers eventually produce the fruits, the seeds enclosed within the fruit. Now, the angiosperms are further divided into monocotyledons and dicotyledons according to the number of cotyledons or the seed leaves they possess. Okay. Some of the common examples of angiosperms include mango trees, rose plants, tomato plants, onion plants, and the hibiscus flowers and the grasses, some of the grasses we see around, and In fact, most plants we see commonly are basically the angiosperms flowering plants. Now, the plants can also be divided into two groups based on whether they produce flowers or not. Okay, and these two groups include the cryptogams and the phanerogams. The cryptogams are non-flowering and not seed-bearing plants, and they include plants in the phyla Thylophyta, Bryophyta, and Pteridophyta, while the phanerogams are plants that produce flowers and seeds, and they belong to the divisions Gymnospermia and Angiospermia. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Please keep watching more of my videos from my YouTube and TikTok channels. And please subscribe, share, and like.